and welcome to Sound Off with System One. I'm your host, Allie Moen, here along with my new co-host, Krista Kornchuk. I'm here with our panel of experts today to talk to you about how to answer the difficult interview question, what is your biggest weakness? So you can stand out in your interview and land your next role. Before we get started, a few words about System One. System One is a leading provider of specialized, highly technical outsourced services and workforce solutions to critical infrastructure, technology, life sciences, and government sectors, putting more than 650 employees and 9,000 contractors to work in the US, Canada, and the UK. As you're tuning in with us today, please hop in the comments. Let us know where you're joining from and what industry you work in. I do have Tracy from our marketing team monitoring those comments. So if you end up having any questions you'd like to ask our panel of experts today as it relates to answering this tough interview question, please drop those in there and we will get to as many as we can live today for you. As you're joining in, also check out the QR code we're going to put at the top of the screen. You'll be able to search all available opportunities with System One there, and you can also visit the career portal by going to jobs.system1.com. So before we hop into today's topic, I'm going to have my experts introduce themselves real quickly and then share a hot job that they're all working on. So Matt, we'll start with you.
Thanks, Allie. Krista, welcome again. It's nice to have a co-host today. Matt Ruby, I'm the Director of IT Services for System One. I sit in the Tampa office. Been with System One now over just about 4.5 years. And my hot job is brand new. I literally qualified it yesterday. I'm excited to bring it out to the public today. It's a server or a systems administrator for a company based here in Tampa. It is a hybrid position, so we'll be 2 days in the office, 3 days at home, and that is on a weekly basis. It's again, systems administrator, 5 to 7 years of experience working in all aspects of server and network management. They will be installing new software releases and upgrading systems, patches, resolving software-related issues, and performing backups and recovery, which is a big emphasis they had during their call with the client. Again, this is a full-time role sitting in Tampa with a national manufacturing company. So a great opportunity for someone in the Tampa Bay area to take advantage.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Matt. Matt's job information can be found in the comments, and you can scan that QR code again and search by the job ID number as well. So thank you, Matt. Colleen, let's head over to you.
Thanks, Allie. Welcome, Krista. Hi, everyone. I'm Colleen Loswitz, recruiting manager of Joule's national accounts team. My team focuses on contract staffing for positions within the life sciences field. I've been with Joule for 3 years, and I am based out of our Edison, New Jersey branch. Today, I'd like to highlight a few exciting opportunities that we have with one of our leading pharmaceutical clients in the Tucson area. These roles are contract research associate positions. We have levels 1, 2, 3, and senior research associates available, and they are responsible for conducting research and product development on various medical devices. So this company is actually a household name, and they're working on a lot of exciting projects at the moment. For the positions, they're looking for a minimum of a bachelor's degree for the research associate level 1 and a minimum of a master's degree for the senior level RA, obviously in a scientific discipline. So if you're interested or looking to start a new exciting opportunity, please connect with me on LinkedIn. They're looking to have candidates interview in early August and then start in early September.
Perfect. We love having a set start date. So thanks, Colleen. Just like Matt's job, Colleen's job information is being dropped in the comments right now. You can search for one of those specific roles by the job ID number by scanning the QR code at the top of your screen. But if you are interested in learning more about any of those other opportunities that Colleen just mentioned, please be sure to connect with her on LinkedIn. You can also connect with all of our experts here. That info will be in the comments. And last but not least, Rich Weed.
Hey, thank you guys for having me today. This is awesome. My name is Rich Weed. I'm System One's Director of Marketing, responsible for all things marketing within the organization. I am also based out of the Tampa office with Matt. I've been with System One for nearly 9 years. And while I don't have a hot job because I don't recruit, I do have about 1,545 hot jobs on our career portal. That's jobs.system1.com. Check it out. Apply to those jobs that match your skill set and location. Thanks, Allie.
Yeah, thank you, Rich. As you heard here, we have over 1,500 different opportunities that all of our recruiters and our team are recruiting for every single day. So check those out at jobs.system1.com or by scanning that QR code. And without further ado, let's head into today's topic, how to answer the interview question, what's your biggest weakness? So to start us off, Rich, I want to come to you with my first question. How can one frame their response positively while discussing a weakness in an interview?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great question. I think key to framing a response is that one needs to understand the purpose of why an interviewer is going to ask this question. And honestly, the way I look at it, the question is asked because the interviewer wants to check the person being interviewed. They want to check your self-awareness on areas that you need to improve. And they want to hear if you're honest about your shortcomings. Honestly, we all have weaknesses. And the key in this to answer this question is to understand those weaknesses and how you can make sure you present them in a way that it doesn't sound like it's going to prevent you from doing the job that you're applying to.
Yeah, I think just to bounce off of that. Oh, sorry, Matt. I think just to bounce off of that, I think when you've also found a helpful solution to your problem or your weakness that you've maybe shared with your team, I think managers are looking at that as your way to collaborate and help with overall team development. So I think that's another reason they're asking for that question as well. So not looking at it in a negative light, but spinning it in a positive way is definitely important.
Yeah, I think the other part is even just telling the story where I got feedback from my coworkers, or I was managing a team of people. I solicited feedback. I took it, assessed myself, was aware of myself, and then this is how I've changed and made adjustments. So I think, they'll have their resume in front of you or in front of the interviewer. They'll have all that information of company X and then company Y. So you can show that progression and really continue that evolution as, a person that's willing to take feedback, but also change and improve.
Excellent. And what are some examples of appropriate weaknesses to mention? Colleen, I'll start with you.
Sure. I think being honest and choosing a real weakness is key here. I think considering real weaknesses that you've actually overcome. So, you can find that inspiration from, maybe something in your personal life or past performance evaluations. But, depending on the role you're interviewing for, you'll want to cultivate your answer. So some of the examples that you could use are, inexperience with a non-essential skill, maybe being too detail oriented, tendency to take on too much responsibility, nervousness about public speaking. I think the one answer that you might want to try and stay away from, though, is not responding with I tend to work too hard or I'm too much of a perfectionist. That can easily come across as scripted or insincere, and then lacking that self-awareness that we mentioned in the previous question.
Yeah, I asked actually a couple of my consultants last night just to give me some of their specifics that they've shared in interviews. So fear of public speaking. Some of these candidates are moving into manager or director roles for the first time. And so you're going to run a group of people and have to present. So that's something that could come up. A lack of tactfulness, maybe being too direct, or even indecisiveness. So those are just a couple that came up repeatedly from my group of candidates that responded back yesterday.
Yeah, I agree with everything that Matt and Colleen has said. I think, again, you got to be authentic when you're having this discussion. You got to make it real about how you are and how you're made and how you carry yourself. And I think really important is you got to have concrete examples of how you're trying to improve yourself. Everybody can come up with weaknesses, but if you're not taking that weakness and running with it to do something better, really important. But I think at the end of the day, you got to be honest, and you don't want to dig yourself in a hole and try to keep answering questions with improvement and just not get out of that hole.
I think just looking at that comment from Christopher about my weakness being overconfident, I think there's a way to hopefully present that to a client in a humble or using humility, because that's at least my recommendation. If there's a way to be the best, okay, cool, but you don't have to let the world know about it. Michael Jordan never professed to be the best. He just proved he was the best. So Chris, I just saw that comment come up, so hopefully that might answer your question.
All right, thanks. And just some shout outs. I know we have some folks joining from, it looks like New Jersey, Texas, North Carolina, Brazil. So lots of people joining in from a lot of different places. We love having you tune in to this every other week. If you have any questions for our experts, remember to drop those in the comments as well. We are taking a look at those, so put those in there for us. So my next question, Matt, I'm actually going to come to you for this. Should I choose a weakness directly related to the job, or can it be a personal weakness?
I would recommend, I think even Colleen mentioned this briefly before, I would recommend not bringing a weakness that is must have in the job. I would go into personal. I think personal is intertwined into your work anyway. So to be, I would say, short and succinct to your question, don't have your weakness be integral important to doing your job successfully. Use a personal one, and that also shows the potential company that you're working for you're okay opening up, right? Not all of it, but at least in the interview process, I'm showing that I'm willing to share something that's personal, and I have some trust in that interview that it won't be held against me.
Yeah, I agree with Matt. If you select a weakness that's related to the job, it's just going to be too tough to overcome from that. I think the personal weakness route is probably the better route. Again, it shows that that ability to do the self-awareness and how you're going to improve yourself. The perfectionist argument just doesn't fly.
Yeah, I also think it speaks to your motivation as an individual as well. So, everyone has weaknesses. The interviewer doesn't expect you to be perfect, but if you can use this question to demonstrate how you've used your weakness as a motivation to learn a new skill or grow personally or professionally, I think that would go a long way in an interview.
Yep, absolutely. Before our next question, I did see one pop up in the comments from Needy. And her question is how to say that I can't say no to anything and end up taking on too much work. Experts, is there any, specific quality that might be a weakness, and how she can kind of talk about that?
I'll jump in there. I don't know that that's a definite weakness. I think it's a sign of somebody's, go-get-itness. And I think it's important. But clearly, if you're that person and you do that, I think having that conversation with your boss and obviously in an interview, but you need to mention priorities, right? You can jump in and try to put out all the fires that are out there, but you need to have priorities. You need to know which ones are the most important. So if in an interview, you use that as your weakness, you need to say that, hey, while I jump in and I take on all these extra responsibilities, I know how to prioritize, and I can rack and stack them in a way that it doesn't. And
it won't impact my original job performance, right? What I'm here for. Hey, I don't mind taking that on, but I've got to, I won't get to it till tomorrow. I've got things that are must-dos today, and I can add it to my list for tomorrow. I don't know if there's a perfect silver bullet for that question, but I think you've got to also understand even your mental health of when to just say no and use yourself and keep yourself the priority.
Yeah, you just have to be realistic with what you can handle in that moment or throughout your day. And if you're not, then, it's not going to benefit anybody. So being realistic with both yourself and who you're trying to do all of these things for is definitely going to be key.
Absolutely. Now, I know we already touched on this, but aside from the perfectionism answer and jobs, directly related to the job, is there a risk of mentioning a weakness that could negatively impact the chances of getting the job? Rich, I'll start with you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think if you mention a weakness that's related to the type of role you're assuming. So, an example, if you're interviewing for a leadership role, and you come in and say, hey, I don't have any patience, or I micromanage, or I'm indecisive, in a leadership role, those aren't really good qualities to have. So, you want to be careful, depending upon the role, which weaknesses that you may pick to present. And then clearly character flaw. If you have a character flaw, and you mentioned that as a weakness, If you say, hey, I have no integrity, you might as well pack your bag.
That's a great point, Rich. I think also like a lot of the roles we've been filling, at least this last couple of days, are sales roles. And so if they're asking you, hey, how were your last 3 years? Did you hit your targets? And you're like, no, I haven't hit any of my targets. Like, probably want to make sure we have an answer of why we missed, or just reasons around it. But we did have someone say that in an interview, that they missed 2 years in a row, and that obviously impacted their chances. Even though it was real and that was truthful, obviously we're not advocating not telling the truth, but there's got to be some sort of rationale behind why you didn't hit those numbers. So anyway.
Yeah, well, perfect. So I'm very excited about this next question. Excited to hear your responses, team. So Colleen, we'll start with you. Can you share some successful responses to this question that you've encountered in your experience?
Yeah, and I actually think that this could go back to Needy's question. So as a recruiting manager, one of the most common skills that I see listed in jobs as a requirement is, multitasking. And then when I talk to candidates, that actually comes up as, maybe somebody's weakness. So if that's not your strong suit, a way to kind of respond to this question, that we've seen success with is, that you noticed that you were trying to multitask and it was actually happening in an ineffective way. So you were trying to tackle maybe too many things at once and you became maybe distracted, things of that nature. Now you could say you've been minding how you work and you always make sure to define and prioritize all of your tasks, maybe utilizing a list maker or even your Outlook calendar just to keep you organized. And then instead of juggling 3 different tasks at the same time, you just try to go through them one by one. And then again, tell them how that's been proven to be effective and what your new, completion, percentage is. This would now show the manager that you can multitask and that you can get the job done. And you've had that self-awareness and kind of took the steps to correct it.
I would also talk about preparing for the question. I think Rich mentioned that before. I think that's vital, that you practice your answer. And this is where I feel like having a recruiter, little system one plug, right? A lot of times we'll run mock interviews or just even talk to our candidates before they just interview prep of, hey, what are you going to say if they ask this question? And then if they struggle or have some hard time articulating it, then we can give them some cues and some help. But practicing before, I think, is vital. You always want to look the interviewer in the eye and be confident when you're even talking about a weakness. You got to be confident about it, and then be brief, to the point. And really, Rich, I think you said this before again, is understand why they're asking the question. And I feel like by doing what Colleen just said and mixing it with this, I think you'll be in a good spot.
Yeah, a successful response or a response that I use sometimes when talking to people about this was years ago. I was hiring for a marketing specialist role, and the person I interviewed basically came in and said, I'm super introverted. I don't necessarily like to be around people, and sometimes I'm just not comfortable around others. But I understand that, and I've joined Toastmasters, and I'm using that to improve myself. We ultimately hired the person, and in the 2 years that he worked on my team, doing Toastmasters and just being involved in a very collaborative organization, the person excelled, and by the time they left us, they were no longer an introvert, or at least didn't act like it. So that's a real successful one. I'm not saying that's one that people should use as an example. I mean, you've got to be honest about it, but it was really cool to see this person advance that way.
Those are some great success stories. How can one connect their weakness to the potential value that they can bring to the role? I know we already overlapped, but Matt, I'll start with you.
Can you repeat that real quick? Because I was thinking of a separate question, but yes, go ahead.
Of course. How can one connect their weakness to the potential value they can bring to the role itself?
Well, obviously, it could be the interviewer is asking that question because that's a gap that they have inside their organization. And if you can articulate that weakness or that specific to how that solves their problem, it just makes, believe me, I think every interviewer has an issue. Like our systems administrator, they don't have enough hands to facilitate their tickets every day. So if I bring in someone that could handle that load every day, that solves a business problem for them. Mission accomplished, you're probably going to get the job. So hopefully that answers your question, but I feel like There's a reason why they're asking these questions. They're not just scripted like we might think they are. And the ability for us to answer them straight on is going to help our chances.
Again, half the battle when answering this question is having that self-awareness that you have a weakness and that you're dedicated to improving it. Someone actively improving themselves will likely have the same inclination in a new role, and it'll just be the type of person that you want to hire to advance that role for the future of your organization.
Yeah. And I think going back to something Rich said earlier, having those concrete examples, emphasizing the positive and how you overcame, and then, avoiding negative words like, failure or inept, you never want to use those words when talking through this question, but just kind of putting a positive light on everything will definitely make your self-awareness and strength shine through.
I even think, sorry, Allie, I think even the companies are becoming a little bit more adept to understanding how to word that question rather than, I've heard it lately. I know Rich and I talked about it yesterday was, how have you, or what book have you read, or what professional association have you attended in the last 30 days to help you either personally or professionally? Like, wow. And then my worry is, man, what if I didn't read a book that month? Or what if I didn't attend something, but at least, hey, it was 2 months ago or whatever. I think also showing that self-improvement and willingness to do that adds a lot of value to your candidacy as well.
All right. I hope I don't cut anyone else off coming in here, but wanted to go around one final time with our experts. Rich, I'll start with you for any final thoughts, final tips on our topic from today.
Yeah, honestly, I don't ask this question anymore in interviews. It's because it's one of those questions that gets overly asked, and I feel that people over prepare for it. And so I go, as to comment back on what Matt had just said, I go back to a specific question. And typically the one I like to ask is, how do you handle conflict? And it's sort of like this question, but it's very direct. And I know people don't know that I'm going to ask the weakness question or the strength question, and that, they don't have this canned answer.
Yeah, I think the overall theme of today has just been that self-awareness and growth. And to Rich's point, a manager might ask the question in a different light. So, for example, what obstacles have you overcome? Or how would you handle this specific situation? So ultimately, they're trying to find out the same few things, no matter how they pose the question. So, they want to know if you've got a healthy level of self-awareness, or that you can be open and honest, especially about your shortcomings. And do you pursue self-improvement and growth opportunities? So I think, if you come prepared with all of that, you'll have a successful interview.
That's great. I was thinking be prepared. I mentioned that before. There's a humility, but yet confidence you've got to have in an interview. You don't want to be over the top bragging, but yet you don't want to be timid and in the corner. And then I think at the end, you should have or prepare some sort of closing, statement specific to this, this topic, and how you've overcome and how you've persevered and how you are bought into a team environment. All of those things I think will add to the decision-making process for that company.
Yep. Well, perfect. That is it for us today. Thank you, experts, Matt, Colleen, Rich. It was great having you on. I think you provided a lot of great insight. A lot of great insight, a lot of great tips for our viewers. So thank you all. Everyone, be sure to connect with our experts on LinkedIn. Their information can be found in the comments. And be sure to give System One a follow on LinkedIn. We actually have a few days left of our contest giveaway. As long as you follow System One on LinkedIn, you are entered to win a Yeti Tundra 45 hard cooler. That does end on July 31st. So again, just a few days. Make sure you click that follow button on LinkedIn and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have all of our past Sound Off with System One events, resume and interview tips, leadership insights, success stories, and so much more. And be sure to tune in every other Friday with us here on Sound Off with System One, where we talk about a number of job seeker topics. Our next broadcast will be on Friday, August 11th at 2 p.m. Eastern, and we'll be talking to you about how to use ChatGPT to land your next opportunity. Thanks so much again for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.